Good morning, beloveds. I'm running a little bit behind because I went for a nice long bike ride. I'm still looking for that perfect pattern through the neighborhoods to get me the maximum amount of distance in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of traffic. So, and then I needed to wash my hair. So, I did something loving and kind and compassionate for myself by washing my hair. And it can be as simple as that. When I say to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, it can be as simple as washing your hair or washing your face or, it doesn't have to be some grand spa day. Just something little that makes you feel good. Or if it doesn't make you feel good, at least it makes you feel a little bit better. We got to take them where we can get them some days. So, it is January 27th, and our title is The Spirit Lives Within Me. And our Bible quote is, "Then shall thy light break forth into the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee." And that is from Isaiah 58:8. Isaiah is a very long book. Spiritual mind healing has long since passed the experimental stage. We now know that we cannot tell where the body begins and the mind leaves off. And many of us believe that the actions, organs, and functions of the physical body really are activities of the infinite intelligence within us. To come to realize then that there is one body, which is the body of God, and which at the same time is our own body, is to accept a greater influx of the one life. We should daily affirm there is one life, that life is God, that life is my life now. Every organ, action, and function of my physical body is in harmony with the divine life. There is perfect circulation, perfect assimilation, and perfect elimination. If there is anything in me that does not belong, it is removed. If there is anything that my physical being needs that it does not appear to have, it is supplied. My body is daily renewed after that image of perfection of it that is held in the mind of God. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which art in heaven is perfect. I affirm then that my body is the body of God. It is a body of right ideas, all working in harmony with each other. The life of the Spirit does circulate through it. The law of Spirit does govern it. The love of Spirit does sustain it. Therefore, I sleep in peace and wake in joy and live in continual acceptance that life is good. My whole experience is of God. My whole life is God in action. For I am one with all life and all power. Alrighty then. And immediately I'm the Spirit lives within me reminds me of that song from The Lion King that we use as our graduation song, He Lives in Me. Immediately I heard it as a soundtrack in the back of my head. So I'm probably going to have an earworm all day, which is cool. I like that song. I have it on several playlists. It's really amazing. And I think that's one of the reasons why we use it, is because it talks about Spirit living within us. And it talks about, one, the Spirit with a capital S living within us. And I think it also reminds us that the people that have gone before us, they still live within us. So, and then when I did the Bible quote, then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thy health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee. From Isaiah, it reminded me, and honestly, I think it's a Hemingway quote. I am probably wrong about that, about the cracks. The cracks that daily life can bring upon us. And basically, I'm paraphrasing. The quote is that the cracks are where the light get in. The cracks are what let the light through. So, sometimes we talk about cracking open our heart, cracking open our walls, because we're letting the light in. And that is super important, that we crack and we let the light in, and we let the love in, and we let everything else in. So spiritual mind healing has long since passed the experimental stage. And that's true. We still experiment with it as we learn and grow, but there's good research on it. There's a whole lot of scientific research on it. And Christian Science absolutely raised spiritual mind healing to an art. And we have roots in common with Christian Science. We have the same, it goes back to, and his name just popped right out of Quimby. Quimby one day, he was suffering with tuberculosis and went, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. And he worked out a method of spiritual mind healing. And from there, and Mary Baker Eddy came across his plate, or his teaching, and actually went to him and was healed by him. And then Emma Curtis Hopkins was a student of Mary Baker Eddy. So in all of that, we have reached, then, Ernest Holmes was a student of Mary Baker, of Emma Curtis Hopkins. So if you look at our roots, we have the same roots. And spiritual mind treatment, spiritual mind healing is a big deal. And one of the classes that I took in ministerial school, actually two of them, that's one of the things they talked about. They talked about from a science perspective, how the mind affects the body. We now know that we cannot tell where the body begins and the mind leaves off. And many of us believe that the actions, organs, and functions of the physical body are really activities of the infinite intelligence within us. The debate is, where is consciousness? Is it only in the brain, or is it in every single cell of the body? And is it, is it an essential part of the cells, or is it separate from the cells? And it's fascinating, and it's way more. And then get into quantum physics, and that'll take you down a rabbit hole. So to come to realize then that there is one body, which is the body of God, and which at the same time is our own body, is to accept a greater influx of the one life. There is one body. The body that we are walking around in is made up of God's stuff. Spirit stuff. It is God's body. We are inhabiting it because we are a splinter. I've used that word before. I got that from either the Kabbalah or Gnosticism, or both, that we are a divine splinter. So we are walking around in God's body. And if we are willing to accept that, it opens up a greater flow. And it opens up within us a greater willingness to allow a more full power of God to flow through us to do what we need to do, including healing. We should daily affirm there is one life. That life is God. That life is my life now. How many times have we heard Reverend Jesse start prayers like that. A whole lot of Science of Mind ministers use that phrase, or if not that phrase, a similar phrase. There's one life, that life is God, that life is my life now. I mean, post that on your mirror when you wake up in the morning and say that to yourself every morning. Or say it before you walk out the door. And feel how it makes your body feel. That's an experiment for you. Every organ, action, and function of my physical body is in harmony with the divine life. There is perfect circulation, perfect assimilation, and perfect elimination. And remember, perfect means whole. The whole system is working. And it is working, I'm going to use the word flawlessly. It's working exactly the way it should. So when it's not, here's what you say to yourself. If there is anything in me that does not belong, it is removed. And there's a whole lot of instances where that would be a very helpful phrase. If there is anything that my physical being needs that it does not appear to have, it is supplied. And notice how he says does not appear to have. It is supplied. It's available. Are we willing to take and are we willing to recognize it and accept it? That's a big one. My body is daily renewed after that image of perfection that is held in the mind of God. I've talked about that before. I've talked about the bliss body. I've talked about going back to the idea of God. Going back to the idea, God's idea of us. Because we get an idea of ourselves. Everybody around us has an idea of ourselves. Society, culture, the media has an idea of what we should be and what we look like. And none of it's true. The one place we want to go back to, especially in healing, is God's idea of us. Because God's idea of us is whole. It's complete. It's perfect. That's where we go. So this next line is definitely a Bible quote because it is in quotes. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which art in heaven is perfect. And that's about the willingness to accept God's idea of ourselves. I affirm, then, that my body is the body of God. It is the body of right ideas, all working in harmony with each other. God's idea of us is in God's nature of us. So when we work within God's nature of peace, of harmony, of love, of unity, of creativity, we cannot help but succeed. The life of spirit does circulate through it. The law of spirit does govern it. The love of spirit does sustain it. Therefore, I sleep in peace and wake in joy and live in continual acceptance that life is good. And remember, it's treat and move your feet. So I just said, in continual acceptance that life is good. I still bear the responsibility of getting up and doing, of taking care of myself, of, I'm going to use the dirty word, exercising, which can be as simple as going for a walk, eating more healthy than not. That's still part of my responsibility. I am wearing God's body. It is my responsibility to take care of it. But I also don't want to fall into the trap of letting other things like the media and society and culture tell me what my body should be. I'm going to go back to God's idea. My whole experience is of God. My whole life is God in action. For I am one with all life and all power. So say that to yourself. Our whole experience is God. Our whole life is God in action. For we are one with all life and all power. And that, if that doesn't make make your body sing a little bit, because I can feel it. Yeah. Okay. So, our mission, should we choose to accept it today, our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to live like there is one life. That life is God. And that life is our life now. To live as if we were God in action. And I think that's a pretty amazing one. Yeah. So, I'm going to encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. Every day. Every day. Because you are a beloved child of God in whom Spirit is well pleased, always and forever. That is a state of grace. And we have the right and the responsibility to take care of ourselves. And you can use the airplane metaphor of when the gas mask falls from the ceiling, you put yours on first. The oxygen mask. You put yours on first, and then you help your neighbor, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you don't have the energy to take care of yourself, how are you going to have the energy to support or help anybody else? So please take care of yourself. And please be gentle with yourself, and please be kind with yourself. And love yourself. You are a child of God. You are a child of Spirit. And I would tell you, as I always do something to engage your mind and your body. There's some sunshine out there. I thoroughly encourage you. It's going to be a reasonable day here to get a little bit of sunshine on your face, 5 or 10 minutes. Get a breath of fresh air. It will help bring you a fresh perspective. And drink some water. Always. It's easy to remember in the summer, not so much in the winter, but, please drink plenty of water. All right. I will remind you that Reverend David will be on with you around 5 p.m. And there are actually 2 book studies that you can drop in and out of. On Wednesdays, there is The Living of Science of Mind with practitioners Shirley and Monty. And that happens at, I believe, 6 p.m. And you can check the emails, or if you don't get the emails, go to info@creativelife.org to get on the emails to get that Zoom link. And we have a practitioner that lives in Knoxville, Tennessee. I have no idea what book they're doing right now, but they pick really amazing books. And that's on Monday at, I believe, 6 o'clock as well. So there are ways, and in this case, you're engaging because they're both Zooms. So please check those out. And I'll be back with you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. All right, beloveds, have a wonderful day. Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you that you live in heaven now. All right? Do what you need to do to make it a wonderful day.